It is Easter Sunday, and while there is so many things that I could talk about in regards to today, I really want to focus on three for the purpose of this video and just share some things that I have been reminded of that has been resonating with me and things that may resonate with you as well. So without further ado, let's get right into today's video.
Some tears, some stress, but I count my blessings.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ashley and I love making videos like this one, but I also do fashion content, travel, daily vlogs, etc. So if that sounds like anything that you're interested in, I hope you subscribe. It's free, become part of the fam, but also stay tuned for today's video. Okay, it is Easter, and while there were so many different topics I could talk about just for my YouTube video this week, I figured I could not let today go by without sharing what I've been learning, what God has been sharing with me, and just giving today's justice by ultimately giving Jesus the utmost praise, because without God, without God's love, I would not be here. Without his grace, his forgiveness, I would not be here. So I figured what better message to share today on this Easter Sunday than just that, talking about God, talking about Jesus. So three things that I want to focus on in today's video in particular is number one, Jesus' life here on earth. So, there's so many stories that we can go into depth with what Jesus did while he was here on earth. But the main thing that I want to focus on is the theme, the message of Jesus, which is love. And I think that we all could identify with this, that Jesus is love, and that is what he spread. And so when I was going through this week, Holy Week, I was reminded of that Jesus is love. And there's so many moments where I could become so frustrated with just the tiniest things, like the fact that people are going slow and I'm in a rush, or the fact that somebody said something that was a bit offensive, and so now I'm kind of like thinking, what does that mean? There was a lot of things that I was very tempted this week when it came to doing everything outside of showing love to others and to myself. And so I really want to dive into that and talking about just what I said, which is Jesus is love. And that means not just love for yourselves, but to show love to others. On this Easter Sunday, I really hope that you're reflecting within yourself and maybe with other people as well, of ways that you can show more love and compassion to those around you, those you may know, those you may not even know, and also, of course, yourself. One of the ways I'm practicing showing more love is by judging less, okay? Really, I shouldn't be judging at all. But I am human, and there's moments where your mind's gonna want to go there. I can't sit here and say that I'm never gonna think something, because your mind, again, we're human. But I think the biggest difference is allowing those thoughts to take control and become actions. What that means is, okay, you may have a thought. Somebody may say something or do something, and you may want to judge them. Your mind may think a judgment thought. But the action is if you then talk about it with somebody else or say it out loud. Now you're taking action. Now you're judging, you're in a space of gossip, you're in a space of drama. And the more that you do that, the more opportunities the enemy now can throw at you to be judgmental. And that's something that I realized is, in order for me to help to show love to other people, it is about what I'm putting out. So if I'm constantly judging other people, then guess what? I'm going to be giving more opportunities to judge people. But when I take a moment and I think to myself, like, okay, you know what? Maybe they're just not having a good day. Maybe they, are dealing with some things that I couldn't imagine, and that is why they did what they did. When I lead with more compassion, when I lead with more love, that is now an opportunity for God to show me more love, to give me more love, because I am now blocking out what the enemy tactics are trying to do, which is to give me to live in a judgment zone. So those are one of the things that I was reminded on. Those are one of the things that I'm working on. And what better way to have the perfect example, which is through Jesus, because while Jesus was here on earth, he showed so much love. There was things that, of course, we know that he was not pleased with, but you know, the amount of love that he showed to all, you know, not the people that seemed holier than thou, not the people that seemed, you know, like the perfect followers, but you know, just the love that he showed to all, even those that to the people back in the day or back in those times would think, you know, were sinners and didn't deserve love. Those are the people that he was going, you know, an extra mile for, in a sense, to remind them that they're loved. They're not what they've been through, they're not their past, you know. And so again, that is one of the things that I am reminded of during this Holy Week, during this Easter Sunday, is just to show more love, more compassion to not just myself, but to others. And one of the ways I'm doing that in particular is cutting out the gossip, cutting out the drama, cutting out the mess, because I know that it really leads me nowhere. It makes me, you know, get all hot and I'm angry and I'm frustrated. It never brings out good emotions when I'm judging people or being in a very like drama, messy filled space. So it's one of the things I'm cutting out. But take a look at some things that you can just really focus in on when it comes to showing that compassion, showing that love that Jesus did. It may be through stopping the gossip, stopping the judgment. It may be through serving others, you know, going out and getting in your communities, helping other people. It could look different for everybody, but yeah, really focus in on ways that you can show more love to others and yourself. Number 2, Jesus' death. Okay, obviously this is part of the resurrection, right? Jesus had to die. And one of the things that I wanted to focus on with his death is the actual, you know, torment that he faced before he died. And I just think about, like, ooh, when you think about reading, you know, all that Jesus went through, imagine you going through that, you know, needles in your hands. Like, I couldn't imagine any of that, you know. But something that I thought about in relation to Jesus dying on the cross for us is all of the things that we did wrong, you know, like that nail in Jesus' hand, you know, the times where we said, Jesus, you know, if you just get me out of this situation, I won't do it again. Jesus, if, you know, you just help me this one time, I won't go back. And then we go back. Or those times where, you know, we was doing so good, we was on track, and then we failed and we got off course, and we like went further down than we could have ever imagined. You know, I just thought about so many times where it felt like I was the needle in God or Jesus' hand because of the things that I had did, right? That guilt, that shame the enemy wants to throw in your mind, like you're not worthy of Jesus' love, you're not worthy of goodness because look at your past, look at what you've done. You know, you're dirty, you're unclean. But something that we know obviously today is that Jesus rose from the dead. He didn't die on that cross just so, you know, oh, it's done. But he died on that cross for our sins so that we may be born again. It is through that confirmation that I can live and say, you know what? Yes, I wandered off. You know what? Yes, I did some things that looking back on, I could have done differently. Looking back on wasn't the prettiest, you know, but I am no longer bound to that. I'm no longer tied down to that version of myself, but instead I am led free. I am made free. I am clean. I am pure. And God is saying, come to me. All of you that are lost right now, that is wondering and confused, come to me because it is through him that we find peace, joy, love, you know, serenity. And so, another thing too, being reminded of just Jesus' death is the dark times. Like obviously that wasn't like, you know, a good day. We weren't all like, yay. But it reminds me of moments where I felt super dark. Like, how am I going to ever get through this? It was like literally feeling like a death to my old self, because it was so much spiritual warfare. It was so much like trauma that just wrapping through my mind, experiences repeating again and again and again. So it was dark, like it was a dark time, and it can feel when you're in a dark time like, how am I going to get out of this? Because you're in it, right? You don't see a way out when you're in it. But of course, once you do get out of it, you look back and you're like, wow, at the moment, that dark time, I was not thankful for. But looking back, that dark moment, that dark time allowed me to do something that I never would have done if I didn't go through it. That dark time allowed me to actually take steps to heal, to actually take steps to finally deal with the wounds that I had just band-aid over for so many years. Those dark times, looking back, while yes, in the moment I did not want to be there, but now that I'm out of it, it was that dark time that led me to the version I am today. If I didn't go through that dark time, I wouldn't have reached and leaned on Jesus. I did. I wouldn't have like gone to therapy. I wouldn't have reached out and have the community I have today. You know, I wouldn't have healed those wounds again. And so while I think we can all agree going through dark times is never easy. It's never like, oh yeah, I want to go through some really dark moments. But it is through those dark moments that God can bring out so much more than we ever could have imagined. You know, if Jesus didn't die for us, he would have not been able to be risen from the dead. If Jesus did not die for us, we would not have eternal life. And so while Jesus' death, Jesus being killed, the torment of it all was just the most brutal thing that you could ever imagine, the most brutal thing someone can go through, it led to the very things of us being here, led to the very things of us having everlasting life. And so while, you know, whoever may be going through some dark times, I don't know what you're facing, I don't know what you're going through, I can't, you know, I can only imagine, but to shed some light, to share some wisdom, to share some inspiration that this time, this moment that you're in, be encouraged that it will not go in vain. Be encouraged that when you get through this, as you will look back and you will be able to say that it was through the dark moment that now, today, you stand here as the version of you, more healed, more happy, more whole, because it didn't break you. And as much as the devil wanted it to, it didn't break you, you know? Everybody doubted Jesus. Oh, he's the man, he's the son of God. Why is he not, you know, stopping these things that's happening? If he's the son of God, you know, everybody doubted Jesus. They didn't think that he would raise from the dead, you know. So much so that even, you know, in the Bible it goes into saying where they, you know, it was an option. Okay, Jesus, this man that you want dead so much, or this person was a prisoner who has hurt and killed so many people, you know, and they still was like, Jesus, right? And so there's gonna be people that may not even think that you'll be able to get through what you're going through. But the good thing about God's love is that he doesn't go off of what man says. He doesn't go off of what man does, but instead he does the supernatural. And so I am just blessed and reminded of that today on Easter Sunday, and I use it as an encouragement to myself and also a piece of encouragement to others. So the third thing that I want to talk about today on Easter Sunday is obviously Jesus rising, Jesus' resurrection. And as I was doing my devotion today, the message was, you know, I was talking about Easter Sunday, and he said the angel did not remove the stone from the tomb so that Jesus can walk out, but instead he removed it so that we can walk in and we can see all that God has done. And that really resonated with me, because I was like, whoa, like I didn't look at it in those lenses, I didn't look at it in that light. But that is so true, because sometimes we could think like, oh no, you know, but God can use so many things that where we think, oh, this is impossible, and he's going to do it to show us that it's possible, to show us that it was nobody but God. You know, again, even the disciples, you know, doubted that Jesus was going to rise from the dead on the third day. And again, you know, going back to that message when I heard the Bible app, you know, removing that stone so that those can walk in and see all that God has done. Really taking a toll to look at my life and to remind myself of all that God's done. Like, if he's done it before, why do you think he won't do it again? If he's done it back then, what makes you think he won't do it now? You know, really being able to reflect and to see with my eyes and through my stories, my testimony and testimony of other people of what all God is doing, and that God is not done. And so today on Easter Sunday, those are the three things that I am reminded of from my personal life, but also wanted to share as a piece of encouragement for those far, near to here. So yeah, number one, spread love to yourself and to others. Really get close with some ways you can do that. Number two, be reminded that no matter what you're going through, you will get through it. And you know, not only will you get through it, but it'll be the very thing that you thought you wouldn't, the very thing that felt so dark, felt so heavy, that will be the difference of your life, that will be the new transformation. Sometimes it takes going through that death, the death of our old self, the death of who we thought we were, that death, so that we can what, be transformed and born again in God. And lastly, number three, continue to reflect on all that God is doing. Be encouraged to know that God is not done. As we live here with breath in our lungs, that means that God is not done with us, because if he was, we wouldn't be alive. And so be reminded that there's so much that God is doing through us and for us, and be reminded on all that he has done as proof and as evidence that he can do it again, and he will do it again. You got this. You're so loved. And as always, if no one has told you today, I'm here to tell you today, I'm proud of you. You're doing enough, and you are exactly where you were meant to be. So without further ado, y'all, that is today's video. Please subscribe. Once again, become part of the fam. But also feel free to like and comment on today's video. And yeah, until next time.